listening to the Marketing Happy Hour podcast, where we discuss career and industry insights with our peers in marketing.
We're here to talk about it all, like the ups and downs of working in social media,
how to build authentic relationships in the influencer and PR space,
managing a 9-to-5 and a side hustle at the same time,
how to be productive in your life and career without losing your sanity, and more.
Ultimately, we're here to build a community with you because we're all trying to navigate the world of marketing together.
Are you ready? Grab your favorite drink and join your hosts, Cassie and Erica, for this week's episode. Hey, Marketing Happy Hour listeners, welcome back. We've got a great episode ahead for you, packed with tips that will set your small business or business of any size really apart in the social media space. This week, we're sitting down with social media manager Cameron Norfleet Pivach of Vessel Marketing. In this episode, Cameron shares unique advice for small businesses looking to start, grow, and maintain a community on social media, and gives us a peek at the incredible lessons she's learned from her career journey thus far. Grab a drink and listen in.
Hello, Cameron. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm great. Thank y'all so much for having me.
You are so welcome. We're honored that you're here today. Before we get started, we always have to ask, what is in your glass this afternoon, or what are you typically sipping on throughout your day or in the evening or any time of the day, really?
Yeah, so right now I need a little bit more pep in the step. So I did a little quick coffee to get me through the afternoon. But typically if it's after hours and I'm winding down, my husband and I have actually been on like a dirty martini kick. And we'll do like the blue cheese stuffed olives and we'll have one little martini and sip that on the back porch. And that's been our kind of go-to lately.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love a good dirty martini. And actually, that leads me very, very well into what I'm currently drinking, which Ora Bora, it's a brand of sparkling water. They actually sent us over some goodies in the mail, and they included this olive oil martini, non-alcoholic sparkling water that's in partnership with Graza olive oil, if you've heard of them. And surprisingly, it's actually very, very good. It doesn't taste too olive oil like heavy, and it's just a really light and refreshing flavor. So I'm a big fan of this. I've always been a big fan of Ora Bora in general. Big fan of this one. I will definitely, if they still have it, be purchasing it again because amazing. But Cameron, like Cassie said, we are so excited for you to be on the show today. I know Cassie and you have connected over some Disney things in the past, so excited to hear more about your background. Could you just share a bit about your journey and kind of what led you to become the founder and CEO of Vessel Marketing?
Yes. So I'm sure like everybody, my path was very windy to get to this point. But to go back actually to college years, I started out thinking I was going to go do dental hygiene. And the way that program works is you do like 2 years at your university and then you switch over and finish out your bachelor degree at the dental hygiene program that you go to. So I knew that at the time thought I was only going to be at UL for 2 years. And within that, I wanted to always do the Disney college program. So I had a very small window of doing that before my dental hygiene program would have started. So I auditioned, applied, actually didn't get it my first time. But the second time around, I auditioned and I actually got accepted. And it was while I was at Disney, I started like thinking about it. My program was coming to an end. So I was about to go back home and like start school again, real life. And I started really realizing like, I don't think dental hygiene is for me. I love the profession. It's great. I love the dental industry, but I realized I enjoyed the dynamic part of my job so much at Disney and the creativity that I was able to like tap into every day. And with me being a performer, I had different locations. So I worked with different people consistently. I was not in the same spot day in, day out. And I realized that I was about to go into a career that is what I would do every single day. And I know just like my personality, I was like, I think I'm going to get burnt out within a year. And so I came home and decided to like start thinking about other career and, majors to look into. And I landed on marketing, and I'm so glad I did, because I think it really showed me that marketing is so broad that it gave me so many options, and it did not put me in a box of I can only do dental hygiene. So just having that as like, even though still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, it gave me so many options and freedom to say, okay, I can at least go here, have some sort of path to kind of follow and go into, but it didn't pigeonhole into one thing specifically. And I really, really like that. Also, with marketing, you have so much creativity that you can like tap into, whether that's photo, video, graphic design. I mean, like everything under the sun. And so it would just, that was the best thing that I think could have happened, was going to Disney, seeing that, and realizing it before was kind of too late, or not too late, but having to start over again, find a new career, and, bachelor degree to go into. And so towards the end of my college career, I started working with my sister. Her and my cousin started a company called Something Borrowed Blooms, where they did rental wedding flowers. And so I started working for them. And by the time I was graduating, because I still, again, did not know what I wanted to do, even though I had landed on marketing, still wasn't sure of my path. She at the time had a job opening kind of for me. And so I decided to go into doing that. I had been doing it for a little while. They had grown. I was interested in it. And I actually did dabble a little bit with their social media, but where I started finding myself in their company was more on the operations side and making sure we were fulfilling all the orders and getting them out. And so that's where my progression went with the company, which I do think I really enjoyed, because I do like the management side of things. And I actually got my MBA later on in project management, because I enjoyed that side of the business as well. But I did that for a little bit, again, while I was working for them. That's when I got my MBA, and I actually launched my own swimwear line. So I was dabbling in like all the different things. And so I was 24, decided to do my swimwear line, because that was something I always wanted to do. And I knew if I didn't try it, I would always regret it or wonder what if. So I did that. And obviously, being a solopreneur of a swimwear line, I was doing all the things. I was sourcing manufacturers, I was sourcing fabric. I designed all of the designs. It's not like I went and found something. So I was creating those looks. And then I was marketing. I was planning the photo shoots. I was planning the lookbooks. I was seeing how I was going to try to get on social media with my swimwear line. And I did all that while working for Something Borrowed Blooms and everything, and trying to get my MBA. So obviously priorities kind of shifted, and I had to kind of take a step back from the swimwear line. And then I knew also, working for Something Borrowed Blooms, that wasn't going to be my end all be all. Just really, again, didn't know where to go next. And it wasn't until I started dating my now husband. He lived in New Orleans. Something Borrowed Blooms was in Lafayette. And so that kind of led me to, okay, if I'm moving back to New Orleans, and now what am I going to do? Because I can't stay in the operations. You kind of have to be there to run operations. And so that was kind of the time where I was like, okay, I think my time spent with Something Borrowed Blooms has ended now. Let's shift. And so I decided to kind of rely back on my marketing degree. And so that's whenever I moved back to the New Orleans area, I started doing, I worked with a real estate agent and ran their kind of social media, kind of helped them with their branding of, different collateral for their office. And that's what I did that for a little bit. And also kind of got back into the swimwear, decided to kind of pick that back up and see if I could. But at that time, it had been a couple years, and I just found like I still loved bathing suits, but my true passion kind of fizzled out for like wanting to be a swimwear designer. But it was really interesting, because while I was like figuring all that out, I was still, again, like trying to go social media. So I dabbled with like influencers and reaching out to them and trying different aspects. And I think it was really cool for me to be able to, from an entrepreneur and trying to wear all the hats there, kind of try that out and get more experience on that end. Because when I do have like now a client that asks me about those things, I've already done it. I've already tried it before. So it gave me a lot of experience, even though I had no idea that this is where I would go. And so then once I was done working with the real estate agent, I actually landed a full-time job as a communications and marketing specialist for a construction company. And I did that while I was doing that, that's when I really got interested in like the social media aspect. And that's where I put a lot of my focus on with that role is like, okay, I want to come up with better strategies. I want to figure out how to make cool videos for them. I want to showcase the services, what makes them different. And while doing that, I decided, well, let me try to get another client on the side and do the same thing, but just social media. And really weird, full circle, my first client was a dentist. So went back into the dental industry, kind of tapped into that. And I really, really enjoyed working with that small business and her, you know, her practice to grow a social media presence. And that's what led me to getting another client, another client. And so while I was working full time, I started building up my clients list. And just back in June, I was able to leave my full time and do Vessel full time. So very, very long-winded story, but that is how I landed to Vessel now. And Vessel's been around for 2 years, but this is now officially full time what I'm doing. So yeah.
Wow, I love that. And I love the transitional period of I'm doing this while I have my full-time job, but I know that I eventually want to get to where this can become my full-time job. A lot of our listeners are kind of in the same boat, so it's fun to hear from someone who has made that transition as well. And Cassie and I both have also made that transition, so it's really cool to hear. We have a lot in common with you. So I know that story is a big piece of your strategy at Vessel, and you probably pull a lot of inspiration and importance behind story from your time at Disney, I'm sure. Why is infusing compelling narratives into your clients' messaging important to you?
I think from just like a human psychology aspect, and I also think like COVID taught this. I mean, you can't deny it. People like having a personal connection and they don't want to be sold to. So if you can present yourself in a way that shows that you are real, you're relatable, there's a connection, people are going to feel more inclined and feel like they know you and trust you so much more than you just trying to make a sale, make a buck. People don't want to be sold to anymore. They want to feel personally connected. That's why brands like Disney or even Patagonia, who have a huge like environmental, aspect of their business, like people connect to that story so much more than them just being like, hey, buy this product from me because it's going to keep you warm in the outdoors. And so I think it's really shown me that that is what people are going to remember. And that's what's going to last you for years and years to come. It's not about just making a one-time sale and not caring about your customer anymore. For businesses, especially small to medium, any business, they want to get that customer and then hold on to them for a very, very, very long time. And the only way you do that is through strengthening those relationships over and over again. And the only way you can do that is being personable, being a business that people trust and feel like they know who you are and they like it and they want to like learn more from you. And so having that storytelling aspect of your business and showing what makes you different is going to relate and keep those customers coming back for more and more and more. And they're going to be, your biggest supporters and your biggest fans. And so that's why story is just like so important.
So, based off of that, then how do you kind of guide businesses or share with them how to develop that story? If they don't already have it, are there any steps that you take them through or questions brands can ask themselves to kind of figure out what that story is and how to compel audiences using that?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I try to like kind of tap into is like their why. Like, why did you even start this? And for instance, like the dental office, like, okay, you like teeth, but like, why did you go and start your own practice and not just go be an associate dentist at other ones? And so it's like you kind of have to like kind of peel back those layers. And really, the more I would like talk to them, you can see like kind of like unraveling of like, what makes like why do you do what you do? Why do you make sure that you don't have 50 patients in the day, but you have 25? And it's because they want to feel like they know who you are and things like that. So it's just like tapping into those, like asking more why questions instead of just like, what is it that you do? And really trying to get them to open up personally too. And then, it's really cool too, whenever I'm talking to businesses and they like start getting excited, you can see like a little like light like bulb goes off, and they're like, oh, I have pictures because this is the company my dad started in the 70s. We have pictures of him on this equipment, starting it. And so it's cool to start seeing that, because I'm like, well, that's all the stories and reasons what makes you different than this other construction company. And so it's really trying to figure out like why they started in the beginning, and just again asking those why questions that makes them tick. And then it also, like, you can see it, the light bulb go off, and then they start like kind of divulging all the information, and you just kind of keep pulling and pulling and pulling. And that's really how I try to get back down deeper than just, oh, I'm a dermatologist,
That's awesome. And it's weird because a lot of people can look at their business as a whole, especially small business owners, and they think to themselves, well, I don't know, I don't know why I wanted to do this, or I don't know what even really led me here. But getting deeper, asking those questions about why can really help people, identify that and then share that with their prospective audience. So I love that so much. Okay, so working with some of these smaller businesses and things like that, there is an importance on staying relevant on a budget. So could you share some cost-effective social media strategies that businesses with limited resources can implement to make an impact in their markets?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the thing is that a lot of people always think that they need to have a huge ad budget to be able to have anything on social media. And that's just not true. The platforms themselves are free. So, what I like to try to just encourage them is like, your backbone, your base of your social media presence should be organic, and that is free. And then from there, like doing little tweaks and things that are going to help you be more discoverable. So, like, optimizing your bio, which sounds silly, but that can do a lot. When you go and change your, just like the title of your bio, it makes you more discoverable if you have those keywords in there, and that's free. You don't have to go pay for keyword optimization for your social media page, things like that. But another thing that I like to really encourage is, reels are always going to get in front of audiences outside of your followers. And again, that is free to do. And you can also like put pictures and do trending sounds with your pictures, and that also gets you more reach outside of your follower base. So there are ways to kind of tip to, or like kind of get around the needing a huge ad spend to be able to still get more reach and more exposure. Another thing that I think is, if you can either do like some giveaways, and sometimes you have to kind of play around because some giveaways work really well and some do not at all. And so it's trying to see like, are you going to give away some of your products or services, or are you going to piggyback and maybe team up with another group that's can really help and refer, business back and forth. So you kind of can get creative in those ways, and that there is a low cost effective way strategy to try to get and piggyback on other people's followers, things like that. But another thing is that I really like to do, and I think it's interesting, is always, if you can, tag clients, tag your patients if they allow it, things like that, because when they get tagged in your post, they're going to get excited and share it. And that's free publicity for them to go share it to their page and get more reach and exposure. So like little things like that you don't always think about, but are just low hanging fruit that allows you to get in front of more people. And so those are a couple of strategies that I like to like think about and maybe implement in some of my clients, strategies. And if they're wanting like, okay, I want to do a little bit more than just posting, I'm like, okay, well then let's get creative and come up with some ideas. Another thing is, if you do know some like either micro influencers or just like pages or bloggers in your area that you think were, that are similar to your target audience, go ahead and send them free things, or offer them to like come to your place and get a free, service done to where they can post about it. And sometimes that you don't have to pay them anything, you just give them a free service or a free product to try. And that's another way, like kind of around having to pay a lot for 5 posts from this huge influencer, where you can kind of capitalize on those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some really great tips. And no matter what you're doing on social, of course, measuring the performance is super important. So knowing what I'm doing on social? Is it working? Is it activating these audience members? And so want to kind of talk about that a little bit. So what key performance indicators or KPIs should businesses focus on to track the impact of their social media efforts, in your opinion?
So I think to start, you always have to think about the goals of what you're trying to accomplish. If it is mainly just brand awareness and building and strengthening those relationships with, kind of an already established audience, and you're just wanting to stay top of mind, then obviously your KPIs you're gonna want to make sure that the followers you already have, the audience you already have established are liking your post. Maybe they're saving it, maybe they're commenting and tagging their friends, things like that. So the overall engagement and people really, watching and liking the things that you're posting for brand purposes, then you're doing well. And you want to make sure that those posts, see what posts perform really well, and then maybe try to add those in the next month, those sorts of things. But if you're also trying to, if your goal is really to do driving sales or things like that, or website, then one of the biggest things is you have to make sure that you're tracking those. And it's, making sure that you're looking at your website visits and seeing, did a lot of people go to the website? Where are they clicking? So paying attention to all of those, and but also, again, going back to what are the goals of your social media strategy, and going off of that is like huge. So always making sure that you can tie it back to what are you trying to accomplish, and then what do you need to look at. So if you're looking for more sales, more calls, things like that, then you need to be looking at your profile visits, your website visits, the clicks, your call bookings, and then making sure, this is another key thing, is if you're trying to track that and really see the growth or see if things are working, is making sure the people in your office are aware that you're trying to track that, to where if you have incoming calls, you can say, hey, how did you find out about us? Where did you hear about us? And if they're saying social media, then you know that you're getting some, some support and showing that like these strategies are working.
Yeah, that's such a great tip. And just even having your team, making sure they're following your pages, engaging, kind of sharing that out to their own networks. I think having your team as sort of your ambassadors per se of your company online and offline is so incredibly important too, just to, I think, spread awareness with everyone else.
Absolutely. And I think that it goes back to just like, believing in your brand and strengthening it. If your employees are like singing your praises, then obviously that's going to resonate and have more social proof that the people that work for you believe in it, like what you're doing. So it just kind of gives that a little bit more support back, for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't asked this question in a while, but I have to ask you, I personally feel this, and I think Erica would say the same. In working in social specifically, or even honestly in any creative realm, there comes a time where you kind of face that creative burnout. Sometimes you can't think of ideas. You're kind of facing that block of what to do next or what to create next. So do you have any tips or strategies for getting past that, or even places that you look for to find inspiration for creating content for your clients?
Yeah, I would say, if I'm ever like kind of in like a little creative rut, I'll actually go back to what I used to post. Because honestly, like that evolves as well. And so like I'll go and look to see like, okay, what did I post, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, and see if like maybe that triggers like, oh, this is actually a cool idea. I wouldn't necessarily do it this way, but maybe I can tweak it now because it'll be more relatable. But just going kind of back off of like, what did I used to post? Have I ever forgotten something that performed really well that I want to try again now later on down the, a couple months down the road? But another thing I like to do is I like to go and like, if I'm working for my dental client, like I'll go Google or discover, in the discovery page and like dental terms and seeing what other dental groups are doing. And I never, like go and copy, but I want to make sure that like some other ideas, and that usually can like spark some like creative ideas of like, oh, I like how they did this, and this would be really cool to implement in this strategy. So I like to use myself, and kind of like self-aware, like what have I used before, what can I do to make it different? And it's also a little less pressure because it's like I'm not completely creating something brand new. And so that's always fun. But I do like to get inspiration from other industries, but I'll also go to like random industries just to see like what things are they doing there that I could put into a maybe not traditional like dermatology group or construction company, or, maybe a home builder, and what I can do that. So I'll use the discovery tool in, Instagram, and go see what other people are doing and try to kind of pull some creative inspiration from there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great tip. I think for especially those that work specifically with one brand alone, it can be hard to kind of expand your horizons when you're so stuck in that industry. So it's such a good tip just to get out there and see if you work with a beverage brand, go look at other industries that are completely unrelated. Cause I think there's a lot we can learn from different creative ideas outside of there that could spark some interesting topic starters or content starters in our own industries. So it's a great tip.
Absolutely. I'll kind of like go into, and like I'll see all these random industries, and I'm like, it's like a challenge. I'm like, how can I move this into the, sleep division that I'm working with? They have like an oral appliance, and they do sleep apnea treatment. I'm like, how can I make this relatable for sleep apnea? And like, so it's like a challenge that I'll do too, just to like kind of keep me on my toes of like, if I had with this, what would I do?
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Well, Cameron, as Erica has already teased, I have to ask you about working at Disney. I talk about the experience all the time from my own perspective. And I think there's so much that we can learn from either working for the brand or even just studying the business, reading books on it and seeing what some takeaways, both in a creative realm, but also in just how to run a company or leading. So I would love to hear from you what lessons you've learned from the company on whether it's leading, story, creative, what have you, anything you would like to share on that topic.
Yeah, I think one of the things I love so much about Disney is their they stay so true to their values and what they have in place and their story, and they believe it so wholeheartedly that they do not let it get diluted in any way. And so they make sure that they hire people that are good fits, that are going to be able to continue telling that story. And so they want to make sure that they don't get someone in there that doesn't have the buy-in or the belief in their story, their values, what they hold so true to their brand. And I think for me, like, as I grow and scale and, bring talent on, like, I want them to feel empowered and that they love the brand as much as, Disney employees do. And because really, like, that is going to be who helps your business grow with the, customer satisfaction, all of that, and helping them feel also empowered to make it feel like their company too. Like when I worked for Disney, like I felt like I was entrusted with this brand to make it every single day and bring that experience to all the customers that I came into contact with. And so I think just always like making sure that your business holds true to like your values, the people that are working for you, they believe in it, they want to feel like it's their business as well. And that buy-in is going to help make a better customer experience for years to come. And so I think that is so, so important. But also, I also liked that one of my favorite things about Walt Disney is that he always referred to people by their first name, not Mr. and Mrs., and not their last name. And it was because he wanted them to feel personable and that they felt like they were on the same level as him. And I just always like that little story always stuck to me, because I remember like from being from the South, I would always be like Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. whatever. They're like, no, first name basis. Like this is how Disney works. And I just thought it was interesting, but I thought it was so cool because he made sure that anybody that he, hired or worked around him, like everybody is on a first name level, because no matter where you are on management, they want you to feel like you can go to them and talk to them just as a person and feel respected, and that there is no hierarchy or inferior, superior, like, and I think that's so important, especially like leading a team, is making sure that they feel comfortable coming talk to you no matter what. So that's something that I'll always like as I grow and hope to scale, that I can, have with all of my employees, that they feel that they can come to me relatable and talk to me about things. And so that's some of the things that I really pulled from Disney and really hold true, and think that's really great for any business to hold on to.
Those are such great just things to take away from working at Disney. And I am always just in awe of people who still to this day, even if they haven't worked there in 10 years or whatever, they still to this day speak highly of the company. They have like pretty much nothing negative to say. They just really enjoyed their time there and really respect the brand, even continuing on into their career, wherever it may take them. And I just like love hearing that from the both of you. So thank you so much for sharing that. Let's take it back just to social media really quick and talk about how it's continually evolving. This is something we talk about a lot whenever we have a social media expert on the show. How can businesses kind of stay agile and adapt to emerging trends and technologies while remaining true to their brand's identity on social media?
So I would say, like, for starters, try not to get pressured into jumping into everything or trying to just always follow like what the trendy things are, especially if it, like you said, if it doesn't fit with your brand and tone. There are ways to still, use trending sounds or use reels and do things like that, but it can always be done in a way that is in a fashion that you're comfortable with. And I think one of the things that you can do is like take a step back whenever you see things that are happening or things that are evolving, and just always ask yourself, like, does this make sense for my brand? Why would I be doing this? And does this actually like help promote the presence that I want to have on social media? And I think if you always ask your question, like always ask and audit yourself of like why you're trying to do it or why you're trying to, change and do things, it will help you realize, is it a good fit or is it not? And so I definitely think that like paying attention to those, new trending things that are coming around are always really great, but always kind of taking a step back and not feeling too pressured to just jump into them, and always asking yourself, like, does this actually make sense for me to go? It kind of comes back to like being intentional and not just trying to throw anything and everything at the wall, but making sure, is it really going to fit and be in line with the goals that you're trying to accomplish and the tone and messaging of your business.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It reminds me of a conversation we had recently with Jack Appleby. He basically said, jumping on trends and virality just for the sake of that isn't always an effective strategy, even though that's once something that a lot of us believed worked well. Because at the end of the day, I think you want to get people to your page, obviously, but if it's not the right people coming to your page that are going to convert or engage or be a part of this long lasting community, it just isn't worth it.
Well, and I think another point to that, I always say, like, if people come to your page, it should be a first impression or what they can expect when working with you as a business. So you don't want to ever deceive someone and having this presence online that is completely different from their customer experience that they're going to have. So you want it to make sure that it does match the experience they're going to have when they do come into contact with it, whether it's a product or service based business. You want to make sure it's giving them the right impression of what they can expect when deciding to work with you. Because really, if it doesn't, then that's going to be worse, because either they'll decide based off of the social media kind of image that they have, that you have made up, and then they'll be disappointed in the experience they actually get, which doesn't help. So you want to make sure it's always staying true to the brand and who you are, and that it does match, because you don't want to deceive and give them two different experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more. Well, Cameron, this has been so wonderful. And we have to kind of round out this conversation with one of our favorite questions ever to ask. So, what do you know now that you wish you knew early on in your career?
Oh, goodness. Honestly, I think believe in yourself and be okay to take chances, because really there is no one way to do something. From what you heard in the beginning, I made so many twists and turns along the way, and who knows where I'll be in 5-10 years. And I think being okay with not that traditional, like, you have to do this and this, and believing in yourself that you are capable of taking those leaps is really important, because that's going to, like, it is up to you. You have more control than you realize. And I think just believing in yourself and your capabilities and knowing that you're going to figure it out, like that, if you have that desire to maybe go off and try something new, go for it. And so I think just believing in yourself and being okay with taking those risks, because now is the time to do it. And even in 10 years, you can do it again, not being afraid to go after what you're trying to accomplish and believing that you can figure it out way more than you realize. And believe in yourself if you decide to do that.
So good and so encouraging. Okay, Cameron, where can we find you, follow along with what you're up to and what you will be up to in the future with Vessel?
Yeah, so for like LinkedIn, you can go find me at Cameron Norfleet Pivach. And then on Instagram, I have my personal page, which is Cam_Pivach, and then Vessel_marketing. And then I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook with Vessel Marketing as well. So you can go find me all there.
Fantastic. We will link everything in the show notes so people know where to find you. But thanks again for joining us. This has been a really valuable conversation with a lot of actionable tips, and I think our listeners are going to love it.
Well, thank y'all so much. I had so much fun, and I've been a huge fan of y'all's podcast. So I'm so excited that I got to be a guest on here.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Cameron.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much again for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. For more from Marketing Happy Hour, head on over to our website, marketinghappyhr.com, or follow us on Instagram at marketinghappyhr. We'll see you next week. We are so excited to share that our first ever free Marketing Happy Hour digital resource is now available. Download the Dream Career Game Plan today at marketinghappyhr.com/freebie. That's marketinghappyhr.com/freebie. This 5-step workbook will guide you through defining your goals, building your network, diversifying your skills, influencing where you're at, and investing in your growth. Cassie and I created this resource with marketing careers in mind, but the framework can be applied to any industry. Our hope is that this workbook will help you truly elevate your career, whether you're in the market for a new position or just looking to make your mark in your current organization. No matter where this resource finds you, we are cheering you on every step of the way. So go check it out at marketinghappyhr.com/freebie to download and make your career dreams come true.